What's up, guys? Welcome to the round table. It's your boy Dot. Got my man T, Muslim man Finley. We got Big Chad Bolo Giles. He just got out, y'all.
I thought I got out last episode.
They put you back in.
Now you back out.
He went back in for petty crime.
Listen, y'all. So today is gonna be a big topic, right? So today the topic is about Black Lives Matter. And like, this is just, as black men, I feel like this is something that we all deal with on a daily basis. Who wants to get started on this? I mean, I got a lot to say, but, you know.
I feel like you got a lot to say. This topic is really close to your heart, so start us off.
Okay.
No. Go ahead, Chad. Go ahead, throw it out.
I just want to, well, just thinking about it, it's probably a good thing I go first. Because, like, it's so messed up how it started versus where it is now. Like, of course, everybody knows it started to bring awareness to, you know, the injustices that black people experience. And it might be a part of, I don't know, the white man's agenda, I guess you want to say it, to further just pull us down. You know, the name has just become tainted. So a lot of people misunderstand the message, and then you have the media that manipulates what we see in regards to Black Lives Matter, which, you know, paints a bad picture. And so now whenever people hear those three letters, they automatically just write it off as BS because, you know, of how tarnished the name has become. Like, for example, people always leave out this fact that a lot or a majority of the Black Lives Matter protests were actually peaceful. And a lot of those major riots that gained traction were actually found out to have been started by like white people, but people gloss over that because what we see in the media is just black people doing bad things, so people automatically latch on to it, and it's just another reason to discredit black people as a whole. I mean, because we already get the short end of the stick, so that's just like fuel to the flame.
Well, listen. I'm actually glad you started out like that. Because, so here's the thing, all right? I can see you're very pro-black.
I'm not pro-black. It's just I have empathy. And
Okay.
so I can understand where a person like you comes from. I can understand why white people are racist. I can understand why they hate BLM, because I can empathize with everybody and be non-biased, but at the same time, I do understand that there is a bigger picture that needs to be addressed, which is, you know, equality for black people. But again, I guess I feel the way I do because people are once again just disregarding the bigger picture just to pretty much attack us.
Okay. Well, I can respect that view. What I want to do is kind of explain the bigger picture that you're kind of referring to.
Mm-hmm.
And I look at it like this, all right? Black Lives Matter, to piggyback on what you said, is pretty much an awareness group. It was supposed to be an awareness group. That's how it started, right?
Mm-hmm.
As I was telling him today, I believe that Black Lives Matter started as an awareness group to law enforcement, and it lasted peacefully for about 24 hours.
Probably.
All right? After those 24 hours, here we are a year and a half later, or what have you, and now it's just another cry of oppression. We're oppressed. Right? We can't succeed because the white man has their foot on our neck again. Nah, that ain't the case. No, that's because I don't know about you guys, But most African American guys I know are doing pretty well. You know what I mean? They have college degrees. They either own their own businesses. They have nice cars. They have nice places to live. You know, good-looking wives, respectable, well-behaved kids. I mean, things that white people have, right? So why is it that the bigger majority of our race feels oppressed, right? Well, let me tell you why. Because black people have the same mentality today as they had in the slavery days. Because here's the thing. When slaves came over here, check it out. Italians were slaves. Irish people were slaves.
But that's not in the same way, though. They weren't like...
I understand. No, I understand, right? But that's because the white man back then figured out, hey, these black people, they're ignorant. They don't know, right? They don't want to know, though. They want to stay closed-minded, and they want to feel oppressed. To whereas every other race that were slaves, they were like, fuck this. We don't want to be slaves in 2021. You see what I'm saying? We don't want to feel oppressed in 2021. Why now is Italians fucking one of the biggest racial groups that own businesses?
I get what you're saying. That's just a bad example because, like, I could kind of never say like we were like beaten and killed for like trying to learn, whereas again they were more so working.
Okay, and you're right. It's funny that you say that. It's funny, but okay. So let me ask you this. On that note. Black people today, they still feel oppressed, just like people did back in the day, right? Mm-hmm. Back in the day, you just said what? They were beaten, killed if they tried to learn, right? Mm-hmm. They couldn't be friends and have conversations with white people and it be okay, right? Mm-hmm. So let me ask you this. In a Black Lives Matter protest, right, that goes on right now, and they destroy half the businesses on the block. So that guy, John, Bill, whatever his name is, that owns that business, was he beating or hurting any of these black people? Did he do anything to these peaceful protesters that just ruined his business? Well, no. But wait a minute. Those are the same black people that want that guy to respect them. Well, how can another race respect you when you destroy things that they have worked half their lives, maybe all their lives for, and they did nothing to you? What we don't understand today as a black race is we are no longer oppressed. And that is the mindset in the bigger majority of our culture.
But there has been like studies to like prove that we do suffer various forms of oppression.
How? How is that possible? If you were born in 2000, right? Mm-hmm. And right now you're acting a fucking clown, right? You're out here, you're out here doing donuts in intersections. You're out here sagging your pants.
But those are people. Those are criminal. I'm talking about just your average black person.
How are they criminal? What are you talking about? Because they got a car and they're doing dope. But no, I'm talking about literally our race. I'm talking about the same guys in every rap video.
No, that's not what I'm talking about. You're talking about people who. That's the label they wear. I'm talking about your average black person. Like, for example, once again, proving that if you have a black name and you submit your resume somewhere, that's going to play a part in whether you get hired or not.
But why though? What the people that are the employer? What have they been looking at for the last however many years? Because they weren't alive in the slavery days. They've only been alive during our generation. So what have they been looking at on Facebook, Instagram, every social media platform of black men? What have they been looking at? I just want to know what they've been looking at.
But that's still a form of oppression. That's all I'm trying to say is it's there. Racism is there.
No, the question I'm asking you though is the race that is employing that black person, what have they been seeing to help them think, I really don't want this guy to work for me. I don't really want this guy here. What have they been seeing is what I'm asking you. Well, what they've been seeing is Tez and the boys doing donuts in intersections. Every rap video is Draco this, Draco that. Every woman is a bitch and a hoe. That's what they've been seeing. That's why guys like us that are just decent guys that are just trying to just go to work and get a job, well, we're looked at as the same as the gangbangers and drug dealers. And my thing is, it's like, well, why? Well, because we're all labeled under the same category. But my thing is, we're not oppressed, because if we want to do better, in today's age, you can do better. And there's tons of people that can prove that. You see what I'm saying? You got a guy right here that runs his own business, drives a Ferrari. It's a black dude. How did he do it? He's not oppressed.
But I guess that would work more so against people who didn't grow up in a racist home. Because, I mean, you do have people that come from generations of racists, and that's just how they're going to be. And so even if we were to change, by them being raised like that, by them being taught those values, by them believing in that, it's just going to exist.
Okay, so now we're touching on something that I can hop into. Is the hardest thing is to convince you of who you are. That's one of the hardest things. So if you have the label that I can't do something, then what happens is you won't go through the steps to figure out how to do it. You'll say, I can't become a business person. I can't go to school. I can't do this. Instead of trying. Now, what I find is, in general, when people try to do something, they accomplish it. So, but a lot of people say they can't do it, and then that's kind of an excuse to not try. If you're smart, I don't care what color you are. I don't care how old you are. You know, when I worked for Child Protective Services, there was 12-year-olds that made $9,000 a month because they were streamers. They were streamers on YouTube. Kids in the hood that made $12,000 a month as streamers, black. But they didn't show their parents because they didn't know how their parents would take it, that they make more money than them.
Wow.
And that's one of the things about money is you are paid by your value to the market, regardless of your skin color. The biggest issue that I've noticed is African Americans have a tendency to focus on liabilities. Other races have a tendency to focus on assets. So that's why.
Exactly.
So, and it was so clear during COVID-19. COVID-19, you have a literal disaster going on, and there's lines outside of Gucci and Louis Vuitton stores.
Makes no sense.
It made no sense. So, and it's so clear to me. There's a line that I grew up listening to, and it came out of a book, Think and Grow Rich. If you split up all the money in the world to everybody, it's going to flow back to essentially the same pockets, because people start at the same spot. It's almost like school. You start off at a point, but other people, they go in a different direction, and other people don't. Anytime you have a system where I can outwork you, it doesn't matter whether you're black, white, Asian. In general, whoever works the hardest and has the best ideas win. Now, one of the problems that we have is, especially in the African American communities, we don't push ideas and values.
No, because you know what? It's a big competition.
Correct.
In every other race,
that's the biggest.
In
issue.
every other race, people look out for people.
Yeah.
In the black community, everyone is trying to be better than their fellow man. Why?
And you know, it sucks, man. And you know what? I think that's something that's deep rooted within us. I guess that is probably rooted to the fact that most of us motherfuckers are just out here surviving, and so maybe that's just a part of that.
And it goes into this. If you want to change your net worth, you have to change the network of individuals around you.
Exactly.
Like I have a massive network of people I can talk to: white, black, Muslim, Jewish. So I have a lot of people to get ideas from. But if you're just talking to the dudes around you and there's only 6 or 7 of y'all and y'all don't know anything, it's not going to be successful. But I'll tell you, that's the biggest thing I noticed. Like even when I'm driving cars or in the car club, in general, other African American men try to compete against me. They don't ask me how did they get to this level. They don't ask me what kind of contacts I have. Or they ask me what kind of contacts I have. I give them my number, they never call me.
Oh, yeah.
They never call you. So it's like you're in the situation you're in because that's exactly where you want to be. Because if you wanted to be in a different situation, you would do something.
Here's the thing. Listen, information changes situation, right? Knowledge changes your situation. The more you know, the more valuable you are, your situation changes. There's a guy, and I think you guys saw him. He runs a YouTube account, Charlie Boy.
Yes.
Yeah.
He goes to all the major hoods in the U.S., right? And talks to the gang members or just the guys that live in the neighborhood, right? And it's crazy because no matter whether he's talking to hood dudes down south, whether he's talking to hood dudes on the West Coast, the East Coast, Chicago, Detroit, it doesn't matter. all of these guys, I don't know if they don't watch other videos that he's done, but they all have the same comments. Cause we want them to make our community better. Well, how when you're the one destroying it?
Yeah.
You're the one when somebody goes to work breaking in their house or trying to steal their car or in a shootout with your boy down the street over whatever. You're the one tearing the community down. So what do you mean you want them to make it better? You got to make it better.
Yeah.
Second, everybody's a rapper. Man, Cub, you know, wait till our new album drop. Dude. What if the album hasn't dropped by now, if you haven't made it by now, maybe it's time to do something a little bit different. Everybody says we're going after the bag. We're going after getting money. Obviously, you're not getting that much money because your situation has not changed. You are still in poverty. And my thing is, all of these guys don't understand this. It's not about coming down on them. It's literally about, hey, do you hear yourself? And the problem with our culture is we want to impress our boy down the street instead of impressing ourselves enough to be able to go and be out in productive society and move forward in life. You see what I'm saying? Like, we don't have enough self-worth within ourselves to, say, hey, I don't want to live like this. I don't want to be here anymore. I got guys that I see and they're like, hey man, this is my hood. This is where I grew up, and this is just where I'm gonna die. And it's like, well, hey, wait a minute. I don't think that was the plan.
Yeah.
I think the plan is to
Right.
get better. Then you have guys in our culture and women in our culture that just, it's white people this, white people that, and it's like, well, wait a minute. Morgan Freeman said it the best. He said, if you want racism to stop talking about it.
Dude.
He said,
yes.
Stop calling people white people. Stop calling people black people. Call them people. That man is a man just like you. That woman is a woman just like you. Stop basing this off color. That is our main issue.
You know what I was thinking about in regards to that? I think when black people do it, and not even trying to excuse nasty people like that, but I think when black people say things like white people, a lot of times they just use it as a general descriptor, because if you think about it, we don't really have a derogatory term for white people. Like, what are we gonna, like, honky and cracker aren't really derogatory if you look at the history behind it.
So it's just the point of this. All right, and I said I said this to him earlier. All right, if you take all applications that black people cater to their culture and say it's not racist, and just look at if another race did it, how it would be racist. Example: a dating app for finding black women. Or what is it like? What is it like, Black Planet or something like that?
I think it's something like BLCK or something like that.
There's a couple different ones, right?
Yeah.
But the purpose of the app is for blacks to meet blacks, right? So what if white people decided, hey, you know what? We're gonna make an app where whites meet whites. Well, then it would be a racist thing, right?
Yeah.
Right? My thing is this: how come black people can do things and say, hey, this is for our people? But white people, or whatever, not just white people, Italians, Asians, whatever race, if they try to do it, then all of a sudden it's, oh, look at them, they trying to oppress us again.
I think it's because, just as the name says, we're the minority. So we really, just being a black guy, they did a poll on this, and I think it was like black guys and Asian guys are like, when it comes to dating sites, the two most undesirable men. So, we already get the short end of the
But wait a minute, but let me ask you, why do we get the most? Who wants to date Cortez? I'm not saying that. I'm saying that in the lower class, everybody wants to name their children things with the word Ez or Isha on the end of it, or something like that. So that's why I use those names like that. Yeah. But the point is, if you got a dude come up to you, pants down to the floor, can't speak proper English, You know what I'm saying? Comes off threatening to you. Why do you want that person in your business, with your daughter, in your friends group, in your social media? Why do you want him part of anything in productive society? You don't. You don't want to have to deal with that. You see what I'm saying? And that's why when you say, well, if you look at how things go, the reason we have these things for black to meet black is because, you know, we're the most, you know, minority. Black people today make themselves that. Because listen, here's the thing. The people that were creating slavery back in the 30s, 40s, and 50s, in today's world, hey, your neighbor, he wasn't a slave owner. Why do you hate this guy because he's a white dude?
You know what? I was thinking about that too.
He didn't do anything to you.
You're
the
right.
guy that owns the bar, the guy at the grocery store, they weren't slave owners. So why are you taking that out on them? And all people can say, though, all people can say is, well, because, you know, I mean, they white, you know, like back in the day. Dude, this is 2021. How far are we going to go into the future talking about racism until we don't anymore? At some point, if we want this to stop, this whole race war, that, guess what? The government and all the puppeteers, they're all this race war that goes on that people don't realize, and I'm not saying white people are right or black people are right. Both sides are ignorant.
Yeah.
And the reason is because white people don't want to learn about the decency in black people. The black people don't want to learn the decency in white people. Everybody needs to shut up and start using their ears and listen. Because if you put two of the different races in the room and they just started talking to each other for 5 minutes, they would see that they had things in common.
Yeah.
The problem is everybody is so, hey, the government says you guys are going to do this. The government says you guys are going to do this. So, hey, we're going to butt heads for life. Well, that's ignorant on all sides. People need to listen and wake up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I kind of look at the money of everything. So when I see a movement, movements usually benefit the leaders of the movement, politicians, and people that own broadcasting.
And they're never, ever affected.
No, because they're not affected, but they profit off the pain. So a lot of times with modern movements, you're not really getting anywhere.
Nowhere.
It's like trench warfare. They move 6 feet this way, you move 6 feet that way. But what are we really getting? And one of the real issues that I see is that we're just creating more issues with each other instead of having conversations. And all we really have in this world is two things. We either have conversations or violence. That's all we have.
That's it.
So you can just decide what side of the fence you want to be on. But just understand the people that are really profiting are not on the fence. They're sitting in the house watching.
Yeah.
And on top of that, all these protests, and when you're out here destroying your own city that you live in, well, the puppeteers that are controlling the strings, they're not being affected by that. They're sitting up on TV watching you somewhere far away saying, I hope they know they're not affecting us, right? Like, they're mad at, hey, we did this, but they're not affecting us at all right now.
Like, I'm in the Muslim community, so I can let people know what I've seen. So how does people come from another country and end up owning your entire block?
Exactly.
Well, what happens is the African Americans in Detroit and used to be in Dearborn and all these places, they got tired of the community robbing from them. So what happened is foreigners came over here with some stacks and said, hey, I'll buy this from you. You don't have to work with this. You don't have to deal with this no more.
Yeah.
And that's what happened. That's why we essentially lost our communities, because we were predators in our own communities. So then other communities come, they'll bring their entire families, and now they're the ones driving the Bentleys, having the big houses in Canton, Michigan, and Birmingham, because we didn't respect what we had. And now we cry about it when it's gone. Exactly. And now we want somebody to give us something. This is how it works. You can get poor. They will give you poor. We'll put you on minimum wage, we'll be on welfare, but you're not going to pour your way and beg your way into rich.
Ooh,
you can't do that because your value is not that much in the marketplace. So if you want things on the top shelf, you have to stand on your 2 feet. That's how this works, and this is how this should work. And I'm going to go one step further. Stop wanting people who are not going to listen to you to listen to you. There's a certain percent of the population that will not listen to black people. They will not listen to Muslim people. They will not listen to Asian people. They're not going to listen to you. So stop trying to get them to listen. Do your own thing. Create your own infrastructure. Like, I don't get regular insurance no more. I get insurance from my Muslim brothers. I get food from over there. I got my own infrastructure. I go to the mosque, there's 1,400 people. I can go overseas. I know exactly where to go. As African Americans, we need to stop trying to, quote unquote, assimilate and try to get people to want to treat us perfectly, because they're not. It's never going to happen, because there's a biasness. No offense. There's a biasness. I'm going to be hanging out with bros like y'all, and I'm biased that way. In general, people want to be around their own people. Mm-hmm. So it's not strange to me if I was a white dude that had a company and the company essentially had all middle class values. If you don't have a middle class value from that community, I'm probably not going to hire you.
Exactly.
Like, this makes perfect sense. And I'm not saying I'm racist. It's just the way business works. And if you want people to hire you, I got a better idea. I want you to open your own business. Quit begging.
Here's my thing. Here's my thing. There was so my grandfather, we have some pretty deep conversations, and he brought, I can't even think of the guy's name. It's something, I think it was Garfunkel was his name. But between him and the Black Panthers, they had an opportunity in the 40s and 50s. They had an opportunity to change the whole curve. They had an opportunity because they were at that time, they were controlling the puppets, right? They were the top of the food chain. And basically they had the opportunity to take the black race and say, look, instead of violence, use knowledge to move forward. But they didn't. They decided use violence. And basically they created intimidation to do things. Mm-hmm. So it just carried on through the system all the way up till now. But here's the thing. Why every video that you see on social media, right, where a black man, a black woman has an interaction with a police officer, why are they hostile? Why are they already wound up? And the answer is because they're going to tell you, well, we feel oppressed. We feel scared. They're going to shoot us. They're going to do this because of the things that they've seen in the media and the things that the media keeps driving, that police are after black people. Now listen, as black men, we've all been stopped by officers. We've all seen officers that may not be too fond of us because of the color of our skin. But guess what? I don't know about y'all. I went home that night. And the reason I went home that night is because when the officer came to my window, hey, I did a couple things that just, I don't know, make sense. Follow directions. I was not hostile. You see what I'm saying? I had a proper license, insurance. The car was mine. I mean, black people want to get angry at the police. But hey, the police are also watching social media. They're also watching Draco this, Draco that. They're paying attention just like everybody else is paying attention. You're not going to get respect until respect is given.
Well, those guys, clearly, those are the police that shouldn't be cops.
Agreed. But you can't, you're not going to stop that though.
And I wouldn't say black people are incorrect because, shit, man, I'm a pretty easygoing guy. And you can look at videos, and I've experienced it, where cops, they'll try their best to provoke you to get a reaction.
It doesn't matter. You stay calm no matter what. Because what does that do if you get provoked? Then what? What are you going to do? You're going to fight? You're going to fight a cop?
Right. I do agree. Because there were videos where cops intentionally harmed black people. And the videos where they were provoked, I agree that those people should have just calmed down.
They tell you the courts are for fighting, not the cops. I don't care if you're in the right. If you go head to head with a cop at a traffic stop, you're not going to win. Let's say you take him down. Okay, cool. You took an officer down. Well, guess what? 50 squad cars are pulling up and now they're going to take you down. It just doesn't make sense to be hostile at that time. Okay, if you feel like, hey, I'm being pulled over for the wrong reason, then hey, guess what? Fine, fight it in court. You're not going to win on that traffic stop. You won't. No matter what, you're not winning that. And it's just, as a race, we don't understand that. Everybody that gets pulled over, everybody that has an interaction with an officer, it's hostility right off the bat. It's my phone's out videoing you. And I get it. Record them. But record them with respect. You know, don't be talking crazy to an. First of all, can we just say this? All police officers are not bad. Half my family were cops. They weren't bad people. They weren't bad cops. You see what I'm saying? White cops. All white cops are not bad people. I've been pulled over by a whole lot. And I've made it home every time. And I'm not saying that, hey, if I can't get into a racial experience where, you know, I have an officer that just doesn't want to take me out for no reason. I'm not saying that. We know that there's racist police out there. But what I'm saying is if you look at every single video on social media that interacts with a white officer, right away they're hostile. And then they want to know why the police are escalating quickly. Well, that's their job.
I think something else we got to bring up is that I just want to make sure we're paying attention to this principle called the crime funnel and Matthews principle, where a small percentage of people cause a lot of the issues in the world. So most people don't have problems. You know, most people don't have problems with the police. Most people don't have violent tendencies, but a small percentage of people have a huge amount of it. So we have that going on. And then we have a 600% increase in the amount of coverage towards violence. Think about it. You post a good video on YouTube. How hard is it for you to get views? But if you post a video of you getting smart with a cop, oh, that's going right through the algorithm, man. So I think one of the things that happens is these instances get blown up because the algorithms for attention are blown up. Yeah. So most black people don't have problems with the police. However, the ones that do, that's going right to the algorithm. That's 1 million views. Yeah. So again, other people are profiting off our situations.
Right.
So it's one of those things. I'm not saying it's not a problem, but also realize, why does it seem like such a problem?
Right.
Because somebody out there realizes that a problem for us means profit for them.
Exactly. And that's what we don't understand as a race. The more ignorant we act out in public, all that's happening is everything that's being said behind our backs is becoming true. Next time you get in a situation, act like you have some sense and see how hard it is for someone to talk bad about you in the comments on social media. People want to see black people act like animals. Mm-hmm. That's what the rest of society wants to see. So hey, it freaks people out when you actually have some sense and you come correct and you come with respect. Because 9 times out of 10, the cops that are bad cops, they don't even know how to deal with that because they're waiting for that moment that you get hostile and get crazy. So when you're just real comfortable, following directions, laid back, listening, they don't know what to do with that. Mm-hmm. So eventually it just frustrates them and they end up letting you go on your way. Because they know that if they let you go, 10 other black guys are going to come behind you that they're going to be able to get. So you see what I'm saying?
It sucks though, because I mean, this is just tied to, once again, how racist America is. You can find instances where black people were calm and white people were the aggressors. A black person called the cop and immediately go after the black person as if the victim, and just completely either downplay what the white person did or just ignore them altogether. And that is so fucked up, dude.
But let me say this: if you're gonna say that, you have to actually be situation specific, because even though that is the case, mm-hmm. we would have to talk about a certain situation, right? And then we'd have to go through and really look at all the factors of that situation. Because yes, here's the thing, all right? At the end of the day, we shouldn't have to, right? Black people should be equal to white people. Black people should be equal to Asians. Black people should be equal to Italians. But we all know, and everybody knows in every race, that that's probably not going to ever happen in our lifetime.
Right.
Because the only way for that to happen is if all the puppets, everyone that was controlling the strings all across the U.S., all the big guys that have power in every race got together and they said, listen, this is what we're going to do. We are all going to stop talking about racism. We are all going to stop, whether you're part of the white supremacy, whether you're a part of the Bloods, the Crips, the GDs, everyone who has power, all the big guys, everyone got together and they said, listen, we're going to make this a nationwide well-known thing to, hey, we're all going to agree for a month, for 30 days.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to put one thing on social media that has to do with race or anything. Unless you had something like that, then no, racism is not going to go away because you're always going to have somebody trying to fuel it.
Well, I just thought about this. Why do you think it's such a big problem in just America as opposed to anywhere else?
Well, and I think, who brought this up? I don't know if you brought this up or my grandfather brought this up, but because we are the most diverse country in the world.
Really?
Think about it. Every other country has their own people in it, right?
I was going to say the other thing is that we have two factors that produce destability in America. We have high relative deprivation. So what relative deprivation is, I have all my essentials. I have my food, my water, my shelter. That's something a lot of people in other countries don't have.
True.
But we have high relative deprivation, where I got all my essentials, but even here, we can just look over there and we got people in $7 million houses. So we are so close to wealth, and it's so pushed in the American psyche is that wealth is so important. Status is so important. And if you ever saw the movie Silence of the Lambs, what do you covet? You covet what you see every day and you can't get. But it's there. It's right in front of us. Mm-hmm. In other parts of the world, it's not like that. You can't just see exactly what a rich person is doing. You can't just walk over to their house and it's right in front of you. And then it's the lack of the family unit in America and the changing of that towards materialism.
That's right.
So what we're really talking about is honestly first world problems. In general, most of the issues that we're talking about in America, your necessities are taken care of. Your odds of being killed by a police officer are astronomically small. Yeah, your odds, all these things that could happen to you are fairly small in America compared to going to another country.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Exactly. So, but it's highlighted so much here. So much so that you would think that you gonna die if you go to Lebanon or some of these other countries in Turkey. Man, you go to Turkey. Turkey is beautiful.
Right.
But it's marketed like Turkey is terrible. But I go over there with $1 and have a meal, a full meal. You can take your American money, $30,000, go live like a king in Turkey. But our media and the way we advertise the other parts of the world and advertise even our own existence is often in the negative.
I have an example of that. I used to work with a guy. He was from Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
Man, as soon as he told me that, just because of what I had seen and the music I've heard, I'm like, oh, man, shit, man, I'm proud that you made it out. And he's like, dude, what are you talking about? I was like, Chicago, like, you exactly. And he's like, Chicago isn't violent. He was like, that's a very small part of Chicago that's violent. The rest of Chicago is perfectly fine.
And the same thing is the same thing with Detroit.
I hate
literally.
That.
You go anywhere and you say, hey, I'm from Detroit. People are like, oh. And it's like, dude, what are you talking about? Oh, you must be violent. So all in all, here's my thing. Black Lives Matter, if as a whole society of black men and women, we want Black Lives Matter to be noticed, all I'm saying is you literally have to give the respect that you want, give it back to them, right? You can't be hostile. You can't just be always on the just defense, like when someone is trying to say something to you, get a point across to you, ask for something from you, literally, because that's not going to ever get us anywhere. The more we talk about racism, I mean, literally, it just keeps it at the forefront. And at the end of the day, that's really just what needs to kind of minimize. And as bad as people don't want to hear that or have that happen, that's the only way to move forward. Because no one's ever going to forget what happened in the past. But to move forward, we literally need to actually look out for Black lives. And that doesn't mean hating any other race. That doesn't mean disrespecting any other race. That means working together with another race to try to move forward. Because of the fact of, we are the only race that are still lagging. Everybody else has already moved forward. We have a lot to catch up on, to be equal. And that's sad, but it's true. So I just say at the end of the day, if you're gonna throw something out here like Black Lives Matter, then support Black lives. As Black people, care for other Black people, because that's where it starts. And unfortunately, that is what's not happening right now. Like, people are screaming Black Lives Matter, but in actuality, Black people really don't take care of Black people like every other race takes care of each other. So, in my opinion, it's just Black people need to start taking care of Black people a little bit better and stop being in competition all the time. That's my take on that. For me.
Yeah, I just wish white people had more empathy. That's it.
I guess in closing, all I say is I always look at things individually. Like, I don't pay attention to huge movements. I look at the individual unit and the individual person and how they're interacting with life. My whole mantra for life is I don't wish the world was easier. I wish I was stronger. I always put it on myself, because that's the only person I can really count on.